We have several stories on ice to tell you about today here in Maine and nationally. First, in Maine, we are still trying to get official confirmation of whether a wave of federal immigration and customs enforcement agents will be coming to Maine. Over the weekend, we learned from the office of Portland's mayor that the source of the information he has received comes from someone in the congressional level. He's not saying who, however. We have reached out to Maine's congressional delegation. None of them have been able to say for certain that this is happening or will happen. Meanwhile, there have also been some rumors about ice being in Maine circulating online. You've probably seen some of those. Pearl Small looks into those in our report.
Rumors that Customs and Border Patrol in Maine is preparing for a surge of immigration enforcement in the state can be traced back to both an order for winter jackets and undercover license plates. A few days ago, public records show that an order for men's outerwear was placed for the Houghton, Maine sector of U.S. Border Patrol. However, it did not say how many pieces were ordered, and we're unable to figure out whether this is a normal winter gear order or a sign of increased staffing. CBP and the Department of Homeland Security have not responded to our inquiries. The information about CBP's other request for undercover license plates in Maine comes from the Secretary of State's office. These plates on government vehicles typically appear like regular civilian plates, unlike plates that are clearly marked as government-owned and operated. The request prompted Secretary of State Shanna Bellows, who's running for governor as a Democrat, to pause all new requests for plates of that nature.
Until we can get some assurances that those plates are going to be used for lawful purposes and not what we've seen in other states where there have been some abuses of power.
We did ask how many plates were ordered and what reasoning they were initially given for the order, but did not receive a response. There was also a tip that a fleet of unmarked ICE vehicles had been parked in Portland's Spring Street garage, but we were able to disprove that by contacting a spokesperson for the Portland Police Department who said the cars belonged to them. And online rumors that 60 agents were checking into the Hilton Garden Inn in downtown Portland and 80 were staying at the Holiday Inn Portland by the Bay also seemed to lack merit. When I went into both hotels and asked, staff from both said they did not have rooms booked or blocked off for any large group at this time.
That was our Pearl Small reporting. Now, despite a lack of confirmation, many Mainers have already been taking part in anti-ICE protests. The U.S. Attorney for the District of Maine issuing now a reminder to keep demonstrations peaceful. Attorney Andrew Benson says you have the right to protest, but anyone who destroys government property or obstructs law enforcement activity will be prosecuted. He also asked lawmakers in Maine and leaders to urge peaceful behavior at these types of gatherings. A federal judge has ruled not to temporarily block a new policy requiring members of Congress to give a week's notice before visiting immigration detention facilities. The ruling says the Department of Homeland Security didn't violate an earlier court order when it reimposed a 7-day notice requirement. The judge says the plaintiff's attorneys used the wrong procedural vehicle to challenge that.